Meeting to order. Lou, would you call the roll?
Okay, Jackie Minton,
Here.
Philip Martin,
Here.
Ernest Demon,
Here.
and myself, Luann Doherty.
Jackie, would you give the invocation,
Sure.
please?
Okay. Miigwech for this day. Miigwech for all the spirits that are here with us, that have traveled with us, that have greeted us this morning and helped us along our way today. We ask for your guidance. We ask for healing for those that are grieving, that have emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical issues going on with themselves. We pray for our medicine people and our pipe carriers, that they are kept in good health. We pray for people's families that are grieving, so that they are able to live with the loss of people being here physically with them. And we just say miigwech for this day and for being here. Naho.
Thank you, Jackie. The minutes of September 18th,
Do we want to read them?
do we?
They're pretty basic.
Oh, we don't have it.
Yeah. Motion to accept the minutes? To approve?
A second.
Motion to approve the minutes?
We can approve minutes, we don't have.
Where?
They're right here.
Should be in your packet,
The second page.
second page in your packet should have minutes.
Oh, there it is.
If we can already, I've been reminded by Joe over there to make sure we use our microphones when we're talking. I forget to, but let's make sure we just turn them on so the recording picks it up.
Okay.
No one's online, but we do post these later, so.
Has everyone had a chance to read
This
the
is the
minutes?
full minutes then?
Yep, that's
Okay,
it.
all right.
We've had a motion to approve the minutes and seconded.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I don't believe we had any email or phone votes. So we're going to move on into number 6, the Chapter 10 election ordinance, continued review. Have to find out where we left off.
So last time we got through section 104, I put it up on the screen too. So we're on section 105, Emergency Election Commission, page
105,
7 or 8.
3, 4, 5.
And we did give copies of our current red line from last month, so everyone should have a copy of where we left off. And it'd be 10-8 is the page, section 105.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
What do we do now without a chair?
He's our chair.
So right now, I guess we'll just, for the record, before we get into this, if you want, Boyd Snyder, the chair, did step down from the Election Commission. Ernest Demon is the vice chair. So right now, the way it works in the parliamentary rules, he would be the acting chair until such point as the commission wanted to re-elect officers.
Is it no, it would just be, do that position, not the whole, all of the officers.
Right, we could, yeah, you could just reelect, or not reelect, you would elect a new chair and keep the other officers the same. Or you could continue on with Ernie as the acting chair while we revise Chapter 10. And then, once Chapter 10 is revised, we might be changing the makeup and the composition of the commission, then worry about doing officers. It's whatever the commission deems best, but you can carry on with Ernie as acting, or someone can make a motion to, it wasn't on our agenda, but you certainly can make a motion to elect a chair, and then keep the secretary the same, and if needed, also elect a new vice chair.
I'd like to make a motion to elect a new chair because we don't know when we're going to be finished with all of this and how long it's going to take the board to go through all of it. So it could be another whole year before we even get through all of this.
What do you guys think?
I don't get a say.
Why?
Go ahead.
Right now, well, you can give an opinion, but right now, Ernie would be acting chair. So he is acting chair until a new chair is elected. That's what he means by not having a say. You certainly can voice what your opinion would be, but when it comes down to a vote, because you're acting chair right now, you'd only vote if there was a tie.
Okay, so, I lost my train of thought here. I want to nominate Jackie for chair position. Is that the way I do it?
Well, I guess right now, Jackie put a motion to do, Jackie would need a second to that motion.
I just made a motion that we elect a new chairperson.
Today, or?
Yeah, and so that will need a second so that then you would be able to do it.
We've had a motion to elect a new chair. Do we have a second?
A second.
Lou seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So I guess we're open for nomination for chair.
So I'll nominate Jackie Minton for chair.
Okay.
You got enough on your plate, correct?
Jack,
Yep.
okay. Jackie accepts the nomination. Is there a second nomination?
So we have what's essentially a motion to nominate Jackie, but before you could vote, you would need a second on that motion to the second on, I can't talk today. So essentially, we have a motion on the floor for Jackie Minton to be chair. You need a second to send it to a vote. Someone has to second Lou's motion.
Do we have a second for the nomination of Jackie?
Not me.
And there's only us. So I can't second mine.
No second.
Can he second it?
Ernie can't second, Jackie could second it.
Jackie can,
I'll second it.
Any other nominations?
No.
Okay, we've had a motion and seconded that Jackie Minton be nominated for chair. I guess we'll send it, do we need to send it for a vote?
I would do, just for the record, I would do a roll call vote.
We need a roll call vote.
okay, and I call everybody?
Not me.
Not you. Philip Martin,
No.
Luann Doherty, yes. Jackie Minton.
Am I allowed to vote?
You can, yeah.
The nomination of Jackie Minton for chair carries. Jackie's now our new chair.
Want to run away now?
I guess
Well-
you can take, you can take over chairing the meeting now then, right?
I didn't want to leave it on Ernie. He's got his 8 million other things. Since we're very limited,
I mean,
This is your seat.
You can sit wherever you want, Jack.
I'm gonna sit right here.
You can sit wherever you want.
I'll hold that wobbly chair.
okay, so Jackie's nomination carried. She's taking over.
Excuse me. Okay.
All right, so do we just want to start going through this? Okay, so we can start going through this, this code and have we agreed we're going to stop at 1:30? Is that agreeable to everybody?
Good with me.
All right.
We need a motion.
Oh, we got a motion?
Well, you could just, at 1:30, you could do a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
All right, miigwech.
Jackie, do you want me to, so last time I was reading out
Yep.
paragraph by paragraph, I'm going to carry on like that?
That's great.
It's all good. Okay, so we left off at the section 105 here, Emergency Election Commission. In the event that the tribe finds itself without a working election commission, the Emergency Election Commission shall go in effect to ensure there's no lapse in the administration of the tribal elections. Subsection 1. The Emergency Election Commission shall be composed of the tribe's general council, the tribal registrar, the tribe's enrollment coordinator, and the board administrator.
Where you at? Where you at?
10105,
10105.
subsection 1,
Page 10.
Page 10A?
page 108.
All right, got it, thank you.
In the event that one or more of the above team members is unable to sit on the Emergency Election Commission, the commission must, at minimum, consist of at least one representative from the following departments: legal, enrollment, and administration. The Emergency Election Commission shall be comprised of enrolled Sioux Tribe members. No person shall be appointed who is currently holding tribal elective office. The commission may assign or outsource specific tasks or duties as necessary to carry out elections consistent with the Constitution and this chapter. And I will pause here for discussion on that paragraph.
Is there any discussion?
Is this what happened before us?
Yeah, when the prior election committee was no longer functioning, the board put in place an emergency election commission, and this language is verbatim what they enacted in 2023 for their emergency election commission. It's possible as we get through this that we could tweak this. Last meeting, we talked about having alternates.
Yeah.
So if we flesh out that language above, I can't remember what section that was, that allows for alternates, then we could also weave in some language here. Because the way it would work was you have your commission, and you have your alternates. If the alternates weren't able to fill in for the commissioners, and then you had no commission whatsoever, then this would kick in. So we can come back to this as we tweak that above language. It worked fairly well during 2023 to have this staff-run emergency election commission as a fallback. This is like pulling that parachute ripcord. This is like the absolute emergency option, and hopefully we wouldn't find ourselves as a tribe in that position again, especially once we have the new commission. I think at 9 is our current proposal, and plus alternates. It would hopefully be very unlikely that we had to fall back on this, but this would just be that emergency button, so to speak, if we had to. I don't have any specific thoughts on this right now. I think it works as is, but I'm open to if the commission has any thoughts.
Yeah, we discussed that right in the previous, in 10.104, And about the alternate would cover, should somebody be disqualified or something happen. So you were gonna, yeah, and you were gonna put that, come up with that wording. I think that, looking at this, I think we should add an elder into this. Into who serves on that emergency election commission. I mean, at least one elder and someone from the membership that's not that doesn't work for the tribe. I mean, for an emergency, and I don't really, I mean, this will kind of just be a fallback just in case something happens, but I really don't think that this is gonna be something that's gonna be called upon to use, It's just that an emergency should, But I think that we should add maybe two more parts, two more positions that would include an elder and then somebody from from the membership that doesn't work for the tribe.
Yeah, going off on that, Jackie, because above, sorry, I'm trying to type and talk here. Above, we do have the language still, excuse me, in place where the Elder Advisory Committee
Okay.
recommends membership to the commission. So they could do the same here. They could recommend an elder from the advisory committee or from one of the subcommittees to serve on it as a possible option. And then figure out how we could solicit a tribal member, non-staff member, send out a notice or whatever. If we had to hit that emergency button, figure out how to solicit a.
And I don't really necessarily think they have to be from the elder commission or the elder advisory
Yeah.
committee or from a subcommittee. I mean, but it would have to be somebody that is educated in the code and in the election code so that, they're not just walking in cold turkey and yeah. Just that they would have that knowledge. I mean, I don't want to limit, the pool of, where they can be
I wonder,
coming from.
this wouldn't be in code necessarily, but when we get to the point where we have like an application, like we had talked about, maybe that could be one of the things, someone could check a box. Maybe they don't want to be on the committee or an alternate, but maybe they want to be on the emergency committee, and they check a box, like, I want to be considered in the event the tribe needs to do an emergency election commission.
Yeah.
And we could have that in like, whatever application or whatever form we have to solicit interest in the commission at large. People could also just say, hey, I don't have time to be on the commission, but I would like, keep me in mind for if you have to do emergency commission, right?
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
We do have some knowledgeable people,
Yeah, we do.
so if they want to volunteer.
All right. Perfect. I got note on that to add in an elder and a tribal member and another tribal member and a non-employee, right?
Yeah.
Non-employee tribal member in the makeup of the Emergency Election Commission. So we could have a tribe's general counsel, tribal registrar, tribes enrollment coordinator, the board administrator, comma, one tribal elder, and one I'm not married to this language, but one tribal member who is not a team member. There might be a better way to say it later, but I'll use that as placeholder language right now. So then you have GC, registrar, enrollment coordinator, board administrator, tribal elder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 member committee.
I mean, they were screaming last time because, it was administration. This would probably break that up a little.
Yeah, no, this is fine.
Wouldn't we have to have like a uneven number?
1,
No.
2, 3.
Let's see.
Yeah, right now it was an even number, right? It was general counsel, tribal registrar, tribal enrollment coordinator, board administrator. So it was 4. Now it's 6. Yeah, we could add a 7th spot, so it's uneven.
When it was just the 5 of us here, we
Yeah.
only had 4 members that could vote, so we didn't have an uneven number. We could have,
Yeah.
possibly have a tie.
But you, with,
But then the chair serves as.
We could take out general counsel. I know these other positions are also, like the registrar is I guess they're not a key employee. We could take out general counsel,
Because they'd be here
because
anyway.
they're a key employee right under the board. Then you could have registrar, enrollment coordinator, board administrator, tribal elder, and tribal member, then you're at 5. We could do that as our current placeholder language, maybe.
I mean, legal would be here anyway as, so,
We're gonna,
yeah.
you're gonna have the election attorney here to help advise the commission or the emergency commission, yeah.
Okay.
All right,
thank you.
so right now the language is, shall be composed of the tribal registrar, the tribal enrollment coordinator, the board administrator, 1 tribal elder, and 1 tribal member who is not a team member. In the event that 1 or more above team members, in the event that 1 or more of the above, we'll take out team members because they're not all team members anymore. In the event that 1 or more of the above is unable to sit on the Emergency Election Commission, the commission must, at minimum, consist of at least 1 representative from the following departments. I would maybe suggest taking out legal and say enrollment, admin, consists of at least 1 representative from the following: enrollment, admin, and the general tribal membership. What is everyone's thoughts on something like that?
Be comprised of enrollment, administration, the general membership, and an elder?
Okay, yeah. You had some thoughts, Lou? You're looking at me.
Well, normally, not everybody quits, right? So you're still gonna have some of the commissioners, correct?
Well, this is our catastrophic emergency button. Everyone has quit, everyone has resigned, everyone has, whatever reason is they're gone. We don't have a
Oh,
commission.
so this is just in case of,
Yeah, and this is, it's very rare this is ever hopefully gonna happen again. But
Hopefully
this is that
not.
emergency button just in case it does, yeah. So you wouldn't have any commissioners, this is your fallback. When the commission has failed, the alternates have failed for whatever reason, and now you have to have an election, but
so we have you guys.
yeah.
plus-
Well, I mean, it happened in 2023,
Well, at least it'll be in the code now.
yes.
I would like to add that the elder added to the election commission should be appointed by the elder advisory board.
The emergency commission.
Well, is the elder advisory board gonna appoint a replacement for Boyd?
No,
We're just gonna stay 4?
Boyd resigned, so.
So
till
don't we have to have another person?
No,
You don't have to. If someone sends a letter of intent to get on the commission between now and whenever, then that can be considered by the elder advisory committee and recommended through the
great.
current code mechanism. But as far as I know, no one else has
Okay, so
sent
that
any,
guarantees our health for the next year.
guarantees your health for the next
Nobody
year.
could get sick or have a family emergency. All right,
I'm not sure if we've posted, I have to check. On the website, they post like vacant committee positions.
yeah, I don't
I can't
know.
remember if I saw the election commission posting or not, but
Check it.
I'll circle back on that and we can get that notice if we didn't already get There was a whole bunch of listings the other day, and I honestly didn't read all of them. I'm not sure if you guys.
Paper, I haven't gotten it yet, so.
Well, it wouldn't have been in there probably because.
It might not, yeah, it might not have been in,
because it-
yeah.
Because that was just accepted at the last meeting.
Well,
But
Yeah.
maybe it's posted on, on an office, in the office postings.
Right. This is just our first pass with the commission, right? We're gonna, I assume, once we get these initial edits and I clean it up, we'll do another pass with the commission. We're gonna do membership input. This is just our very initial step in what's gonna be a long-term.
learning curve.
Long-term plan, yeah. So I have note right here on the side right now, Ernie, to Elder Advisory Committee to recommend Elder. Do you want them to recommend all the Emergency Commission, possibly?
Just the elder.
Okay.
Well, but then if they don't advise everybody, then who's going to be advising? I mean, shouldn't that all come from the Elder Advisory Committee of everybody that they're going to, that they would like to see on because that's what they're doing now.
We're just
So shouldn't they
discussing-
oversee all of that?
Aren't we just discussing the emergency
Yeah,
election commission?
yeah.
Then,
that's an
But then who else would advise then if the Elderly Advisory Committee didn't advise for those people to be on there? Who would then do the advising for that?
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, in an ideal, well, none of this scenario is ideal, right? Is because is the Emergency Commission. But hopefully, because right now it names the tribal registrar and it names the enrollment coordinator and it names the board administrator as 3 positions. And then the elder and tribal member are the 2 that aren't staff.
Yeah.
So then the elders could advise just on the elder
Well, couldn't they
or the elder
recommend
and
for
the tribal
both of them?
member. What's that? Sorry.
Couldn't they recommend for both of them?
Yeah, they could.
they could.
They got,
Because
think,
3 of the 5 should, in theory, be set, because they name the position, but the other 2 could be advised
that's
by the,
easier to read. Boy, complicated.
here, what if I just add,
Have the elder advisory committee appoint or advise on 2.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I'll add here. How did we, what's the language above?
Oh.
I'll borrow from our language in the above section, elder advisory committee shall submit for confirmation by the board.
The election commission seat is posted too, just so you know.
Ashley just confirmed for me that the election commission seat vacancy is posted, is out there, so. Elder Advisory Committee shall submit for confirmation by the Board of Directors the members they recommend for the elder and tribal member position on the Emergency Election Commission. How's that for, at least for initial language? It's similar to what our language is for seating the actual election commission. And so the Elder Advisory Committee can submit for confirmation by the board.
I mean, this isn't cut in stone, this is our.
Nope, this is just first pass. Yep, this is just first pass.
This still has to roll out before the board, so.
Yeah, it'll probably get lost there.
Yeah, we still are gonna solicit membership input. We have a lot more planned for our long-term revision. But if we're okay right now with this language,
Yeah.
Subsection 2, it shall be the duty of the Emergency Election Commission to conduct any tribal elections in the event the Election Commission is unable to carry out its duties. It shall have the same authority and obligation as the Election Commission. My opinion, that's pretty straightforward. Subsection 3, should any election complaint or contest arise while the Emergency Election Commission is in place, the commission, in collaboration with the election attorney, shall handle all allegations in accordance with section 10.120 and 10.121. Let me make sure those are the right
Numbers?
numbers, yeah.
Yeah, last time we were kind of. Gotta find it. Okay, 121 looks good.
Those are the right ones.
Yep, okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay.
Subsection 3A, should it be determined that any allegations rise to the level of prosecution for any crime under Tribal Code Chapter 71, the matter shall be immediately sent to the Tribal Prosecutor's Office for further review. Any thoughts, discussion on subsection 3?
I don't know, that doesn't work so good, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, we're going to go over
Right, so
election complaints and that in, you know, in the future. So for right now, we may have to revisit it, but right now that's, you know, we're,
yeah, so
until-
if,
yeah, you know.
exactly, yep. So if, and Lou just, I think, made a similar point, if we don't like the way contests or complaints are being handled, we change those sections, and then all this does is shoot it back to those sections, and they'll be governed by whatever the new language we come up with those sections. Yep.
no.
Subsection 4, the authority of the Emergency Election Commission shall cease upon the appointment of a valid election commission pursuant to this chapter. Section, we good?
Correct.
Correct. As soon as you guys were all seated as the commission, then the Emergency Election Commission was just automatically dissolved. The only thing they had pending was a appeal. They were just waiting on the Court of Appeals to issue the ruling, but they didn't have any other authority or actual duties to carry out. 10.106, computation of time. In computing a period of time for purposes of this chapter, days shall refer to calendar days. If the last day of the period is a Saturday, a Sunday, or a holiday in which the tribal offices are closed, then the last day will be the next regular business day at 5 p.m.
We had a problem with that last time, but we fixed it, right?
Yeah, the initial notice of election had a holiday in it.
Memorial Day.
Yeah, Memorial Day. And so then by code, it obviously goes, it's supposed to go to the next business day, but then we had to just send out a revised schedule. This is standard language in most of our codes for how we do computation of time. So 10.107, date of election. Elections for the board of directors of the tribe shall be held on the fourth Thursday in June of each election year at intervals as provided in Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. I have a thought, but I'll let the commission go first on this section. I don't have a profound thought, but
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
I want to workshop with you guys how we can mess with our dates to give our members more time to get their votes back, especially if we're stuck with mail-in voting.
Between the primary and the election.
Yeah, so I haven't mapped out like a proposal of how to change that yet. But I just want to flag this, that we're not so there's been debate over the years whether our Constitution mandates this fourth Thursday in June. It does not. The Constitution does not have a date, hard date set. This is just what we've always done it this way, because when we did our first Constitution and the way the timeline worked out, that's when the first election was held. And then we've just carried it on ever since. But the Constitution doesn't lock us into that date. So that date could be changed if we think it's appropriate to do it later in the year. So I just wanted to make a little note that could this date be moved? Do we want to move it? My thoughts were, if we're stuck with mail-in voting, which hopefully we're not, those timelines are super tight to get, especially with the way the mail is currently so unpredictable and takes longer than it used to get out and then back to us, to get more accurate depiction of how many votes are actually cast and count as many votes as possible. I'd like to see if we can tweak these dates. But that might take, like, we dedicate one of our meetings to just,
An act of God.
yeah, what's our new timeline we're proposing? So that was all my thoughts on that.
Yeah, 'cause it was really tight. People complained, and I know you had, as soon as you got it, you better mail it back.
Well, like, did that originate from those constitutions being those IRA constitutions, and they kind of just locked everything in? And, because I know that some, like other tribes, they're locked into those tight timelines too. And it's not, it's not always advantageous for us to have that. And, if we could change that to make it easier for membership, that's what we want to do. So then we do want to come back and maybe, and do a workshop on new dates and come up with that?
I would like
That
to.
would be
Yeah,
awesome.
I would definitely, I want to, and I want to hear from the commission too, but I want to try to map out some proposals for you guys on how I think we can tweak these timelines, especially on the back end for getting votes back.
We would get good input from the membership too on that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just double checking our constitution, because I said that, but yeah, our constitution, I can share it if you want, but it doesn't, right now, Article 5 is our elections. Within 90 days after approval of this constitution, the board will divide the election units, conduct a census.
I have to look at last year.
First election of the chairperson shall be held within 90 days after the creation of the election units. So when we did this constitution that we're currently under, 90 days after that, they had to divide into our 5 election units. And then 90 days after that, they had to hold the first election. But there's not a specific date of that June date in the Constitution. I think that's just probably how it ended up being, that 180 days after enactment
I'm
of
gonna look
this.
at my old schedule when I go home.
Because even before I came to work here, I kept hearing different board members saying, well, the Constitution sets the date, and I kept reading through it, and I don't, besides that 90 days,
You don't see.
I don't see where we're locked into that date. So my read of our Constitution is it did not lock us into that date. Our code did, but our Constitution didn't. But I will, before our next meeting, I will put together a draft of how I would advise we maybe can tweak the codes, and we can use that as a starting point, and then see what the commission thinks, and then I would love to see what the members, once we get to that stage, what the membership input is on on that. And hopefully we can get to the point, right, where we're doing multiple ways of voting, not just mail-in. But that'll be part of our push with the board of directors when we get to that point.
Yeah. They're working on something, right? Somebody is.
We're working on an overhauling our website, and part of that overhaul is getting a membership portal. So we'll be able to have a way to log in to a private, secured part of their website that only members can see. And we're trying to figure out if, once that gets up and running, could we use that to maybe do online voting? It would be, it's only accessible if you're a member. There's going to be security features involved with that. And I don't know all the details of that project, but I would love to see if maybe once we get that up and running, if the commission, whoever, our CIO, whoever we need to meet with to talk about, is there a way that we can parlay that into and piggyback off that and do maybe online voting through the membership portal? I don't know how quick
They'd have to have a
they're going to have that up and running.
password.
Yeah,
That
my
sure would
understanding
save a
is
lot of
there'll be
money.
some way to log in. And if we get online voting, you would log in, you would vote, and you couldn't vote again under that. It'd be tied to your membership ID. So if for some reason your spouse or your friend or some random person got your login and voted for you, that vote is, that'd be the only way that it wouldn't, that'd be the thing that I'd be worried about for voting. But you couldn't vote twice. You'd vote, it'd be tied to your login, and which would be tied to your enrollment data, so we would know, there'd be more tracking, we would know who voted. But if we do any kind of online voting, there's just necessarily going to be more data tracking, because we have to make sure that someone doesn't absentee vote by mail and also online voting. So that's all kinds of discussion we'll have to have.
I don't think we're gonna be there.
I don't know if we'll be there by 2026, but maybe we can at least have that discussion at this level, and then eventually at the board level, if that's something that ultimately this commission recommends. I know Oregon has some kind of online voting. I don't know exactly how theirs works.
The only ones?
I think they're the only ones right now at the state level. I'm not 100% sure if any tribes that I'm aware of have tried the online voting. I know a lot of like unions and stuff, teachers groups and other things, they've done almost entirely online voting.
They have,
It's a little different than our
Yeah,
stuff,
they're a
but
lot
we could maybe take that and build on it, right? But I do know there's a lot of ways to build in security with online voting now to give that option to our members if we want.
we're gonna have to hire an IT person. just-
We have a new chief information officer. We have a new IT director, and this has been flagged to him as something that the commission probably would want to talk. We talked about it before, that maybe the commission wants to talk to IT and figure out. I don't think we're at that stage yet, right? We're trying to do the code right now. But I think it's worth, if the commission agrees, it's worth having that discussion at some point to see how we could implement that if it's feasible, at least to have as many options on the table as possible.
We have talked about that.
Yeah.
And I know Phil was really supportive of that.
All right. We go with 107 for now. I just did a placeholder. That we want to talk about tweaking that possibly. Section 108, election units, service area shall be divided into 5 election units. I mean, that's just language straight from our Constitution. It's obviously already divided. And that probably wouldn't change unless the Constitution changed to change our election units. 109, notice of election.
That was the,
This is the one-page
that we posted.
outline that goes in January that shows all the dates of all the primary, if necessary, et cetera, dates of when to file a contest and all that stuff. The Election Commission shall create a notice of election, which shall give the date of election, the manner by which the vote is to be taken, the officers to be elected, the procedures for nomination of candidates, the time limit for each stage of the election procedure, and the voting information for the election. excuse me, the notice of election shall be publicized in the tribal newspaper, on the tribe's official website, and posted at all tribal offices on the last Friday in January in the year in which a general election occurs. Any
Discussion?
That looks
good
good.
on that one?
Yep, looks good.
10.110, registration of voters. Any member 18 years of age or older on the date of the election, as determined in section 10.105, shall be automatically registered by the tribal registrar to participate as a voter in tribal elections. Subsection 2, the tribal registrar shall mail to all adult members a notice informing them of their status as registered voters, with an option for those who reside outside of the service area to designate an election unit in which to vote.
Did we do that?
Yeah, when this was brought mid 2023 by at the time Director Freiheit, the registrar sent out to everyone who was, quote, at large, who was not in an election unit, they sent them a notice that basically said, I could pull it up later, but it said, pursuant to this resolution, you are now automatically registered to vote in tribal chair and referendum elections. If you want to vote for an election or for a unit director, you must by March something, whatever the date was, you must by this date elect an election unit. And then there's a little checkbox that they could choose what election unit to vote
They
in.
did send that out just to at-large.
Yeah, only people that would have got that are people that were not residing in one of our election units.
Okay.
I think that this is something we really want to hear from the membership on, because I didn't think it worked real well, because look how many people did not vote.
Well,
And then it sticks it in too for referendums. It makes that, it just makes it harder for any referendum to be passed because of the amount of people, the percentage of voters that you have to have for that. So that's why I just think maybe we want to hear from membership on this too.
yeah, I think the 18-year-olds, you know, the ones that are automatically registered, they're like, they didn't know. A lot of them, of course, they don't participate, but
I don't think it was just the 18-year-olds. I mean, it was just like,
The
Lots of everybody.
referendum Requirements are being discussed at the Elder Advisory Committee meeting with recommendations to the board to change them. So
okay.
that'll be it. I'm pretty sure we're going to be discussing that at this next meeting coming up.
Okay. It didn't work real well. We all know that, obviously, because we didn't have a lot of people who voted. But,
Yeah.
so we need to improve. But I don't know, like he said, if they're doing it.
well, that's just will be more input and more, more people to hear from and to let, so that for the final draft that we give, that everybody will know where it all came from. It's just not coming from, the 5 people or 4 people sitting at this table. It's coming from,
Yeah.
the advisory committee. It's coming from the membership. So do we want to go through this part, or do we want to wait and hear from other people, or how do we want to do this?
Well, this is just,
Well, speaking from the legal department, at this time, I don't have any specific thoughts on how to tweak this section. So if the commission also doesn't maybe have any specific tweaks, I don't think that's a bad idea, Jackie, to maybe just put a pin in this section as we solicit more feedback. The section is working as the board intended it. Like, it's automatically registering everyone. It's given everyone an opportunity to choose an election unit. And then everything falls in line with the current timelines that are established. So I don't have any specific thoughts right now on how to
Right.
tweak it.
I think the registration of voters is working well. I think the referendum comes under a different issue. That
Okay,
Yeah, and if we get to the point where we're maybe doing a constitutional amendment in large or in part, that might tweak the referendum, because the referendum is tied into that 30% in the Constitution, which shoots back to our new 35,000 whatever registered voters we have. So I guess the discussions would be getting membership input on two things, probably, right? What they think on automatically registering voters in general. I don't know how easy it is to convince our board of directors to go backward and not just automatically register voters. And then we could also get comments on what they think the referendum and language in general. That would be a constitutional change as well as a code change after any constitutional amendments.
Well, they were able to change this without a referendum. So if the membership would like it to be done a different way, it should be able to be changed. I mean, it should be.
Yeah, certainly we
Yeah.
could change code. Yeah, you're right. When this was enacted and no one did a referendum on this resolution, so it remained our tribal law. Certainly we can get membership input, and then this body can advise the board accordingly if there's tweaks or changes or whatever it is that we want to do with automatic voter registration. But right now this is our current law. The board enacted it, and when no one challenged it through our current referendum process, so it remained the law of the land
okay.
until changed. Otherwise, we can always tweak. There's always room to tweak and change code. Codes are supposed to be living, breathing documents that change accordingly, right? They're not supposed to be set forever, so. This is my understanding right now from the commission. We'll just put a pin in this section, get more input, and then move on to the next one? Or do we want to read this all out and see if we have any other thoughts?
Move on to the next one, I think.
Move on?
Ernie?
Ernie?
Move on.
Move on? Okay. Let's go down to 10.111, candidates for election. To be eligible for election to the board of directors or the office of tribal chairperson, each candidate must: A, be a qualified voter of the tribe; B, it's kind of duplicative, but be 18 years of age or older. Obviously, if you're a voter, you are 18. C, comply with section 10.124, which is
Let's make sure it's right.
124 should be,
Notification and installation.
that should be 125. It's saying you need to adhere to the oath of office.
Okay, oath office. Yeah.
So,
125?
yeah,
Okay.
125. And D, any person elected or appointed to a position on the board who is either an employee or independent contractor of the tribe shall voluntarily resign his or her employment position and/or surrender any rights under any contract with the tribe prior to assuming the duties of office or taking the oath of office. Failure to voluntarily resign and/or terminate the contractual relationship with the tribe shall bar the elected or appointed individual from assuming the duties of office or taking the oath of office.
Now,
I'll pause there. So we can talk about those sections.
any discussion?
I'm okay with that one.
Me too.
All right. Subsection E, Candidates must have established residency within the election unit the candidate seeks to represent, or any election unit if seeking the position of tribal chairperson at least 1 year prior to the election.
Discussion? I think that's going to be a point that membership is going to have input on. So, we'll have to revisit and probably come back to this. We will have to come back to this, because I know there is lots of discussion about this.
Do you know what some of the chatter, is it like too short of a time, or is it the 1 year period that they're worried about? If you know, if you don't know, that's fine. Well, obviously we'll get their input.
There's many things.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, I heard, yeah,
residency,
residency.
Right, how the commission can,
I mean, this is
That's the word
pretty
I'm looking for.
straightforward here.
right, but the concern is, how do we prove residency, not just how the candidates establish it, but maybe how the commission can ensure that the candidate is,
Is it our job?
yeah.
Yeah,
Got to be a registered address, not a PO box.
yeah, that was
well,
mentioned.
that has been addressed. Yeah, they can't have a PO box.
Can't have a PO box.
But even just, not just residency but
Unit,
of a unit, but, people being able to run for the board if they are from, and the at-large area. There's a lot within this that I'm sure we'll hear from the membership about.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to make notes on some of the stuff that maybe you guys were aware of that is gonna come in front of you.
we're now,
And with residents within the unit, like proving that you do live in that unit, like, are we talking about things like showing your utility bills? Or, is that something, I don't think we do that right now, do we? You don't have to show your utility bill, do you?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so, because I've seen that
you get a
happen.
driver's license.
Right now, how it works is the member would fill out the paperwork to declare the unit that they're running for, and then based on the tribal enrollment database, the registrar would confirm that that address that they're giving the commission is listed as their primary residence with enrollment, and that's our current check on it, but it doesn't go further.
E doesn't
that.
say
Not policeman,
E doesn't
right?
say primary residency though, and it should say primary residency, and
Wait,
Yes, yes, I
for E
agree.
you're talking, Ernie?
yes.
You want it held established?
And that can also be dealt with. So in the definition of residency, it does refer to principal establishment, but I'll make note that we want to make sure it's very clear, right? In our definition and this section, that this is your primary residence. Yeah. 'Cause I'm now looking back at the definition, that can probably be tweaked. We didn't talk about that definition, or we didn't tweak that one, but we did make note our last meeting that residency might need to be tweaked for the same reasons that you just brought up, Ernie. And so I'll make note in this section too, make sure it's clear here and in the definition of primary residence. F, as a member of the board of directors, maintain residency within the election unit he or she represents, or as tribal chairperson, maintain residency within any election unit. Are you good on that one?
Yep.
G, if the candidate seeks the position of tribal chairperson and is elected, resign from the candidate's current position on the board of directors prior to assuming office as tribal chairperson. So if they're already on the board and they run for chair and get it, obviously they need to vacate. Officially, they resign and vacate their director seat, so that seat can be open.
So then what happens?
Then that opens, then that seat opens.
And then
Yeah,
they-
but then how do we fill it?
there's a special, down further in the code, there's a special election, like a special advisory election section that could be triggered to fill that seat.
This is complicated.
A little bit.
Didn't it used to be like in kind of a gray area? Or I don't know if it was or not. Maybe I'm confusing that. Could the board appoint it or something? I mean, because didn't the board do that once already?
I don't know, there was a big old mess. I don't know what happened with, yeah.
I'm gonna make note here.
Oh, that was that whole
That-
mess a couple years ago.
Make sure code is clear how to fill vacancy in this specific
So
instance.
he's gonna resign.
I'm flipping to the special advisory election section.
Boy, one thing touches 20 other things.
So our constitution, I'm gonna make note that this touches chapter. Yeah, you change one thing, right? And then you have to make sure the other thing still,
Fouls.
this is special advisory, this is, God, I can't spell today. Special advisory elections. Article 6, Section 2 of the Constitution provides that the Board of Directors shall, by majority vote, fill vacancies on the Board of Directors by appointment of a voting member to fill the unexpired term of the departed official. But the board has determined to conduct special advisory elections to determine how to fill that seat.
So,
So right now, if that happens, what's supposed to happen is the board would declare they would declare that seat vacant, and then the election commission would schedule the special advisory election.
okay,
And people would go through to get their names on the ballot to fill that seat for the remainder of the term.
Why do you say it's supposed to happen?
well, that's what,
Just bad phrasing. That's just the way the code is written. So that what would happen now.
That is what is in the code, and that is what should,
Yeah, I don't know why I said
shall,
should.
will, can.
It doesn't say shall, but it is a shall. The board has determined to conduct special advisory elections to assist in performing its responsibilities under Article 6. The results of any special advisory election, here's why, maybe this is why I said it. They're advisory and not binding on the board. This is how the current chapter 10 reads, but I thought they changed that.
So are we getting ahead of ourselves?
Yeah, we're way ahead. I just wanted to make note that special advisory elections is the current subchapter 2 that would govern in this instance.
okay.
And so as we get further down in one of our other workshops, we'll look at the special advisory election section and see if we have any proposed amendments to that.
Wow.
Right now, the code, okay, so right now the code does say it's advisory only and not binding, because technically on the Constitution, the board does have that control. But in our current 10.208, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, we do have mandatory language that, as the result of the special advisory election, Whoever has the most votes, the board shall appoint them. So the board has delegated that authority in chapter 10 to make it currently mandatory on them that the winner of that special advisory election gets that seat. Yes. Does that make sense? Well, that's like the very last page of our
Okay.
code, but it is binding. They have made it binding on themselves. So this commission would do an election, the winner of that election would get that seat, and the board has to appoint them under our current chapter 10. That's how it's written. It used to be advisory and they didn't have to appoint them.
When they do that election, it's only gonna be under that unit.
Right, so if the unit one director goes for chair and they win, that unit one seat is open. But the general election has ended, so now we have to set up the special advisory election for just that seat.
All right. Thank you.
So we're good on that for right now?
Yeah.
H, candidate has not been previously removed from office as a member of the board of directors during the previous 2 general election cycles. This was a change new to this chapter 10. So if you're removed from office, you basically now have to sit out 2 election cycles and then you could run again. Where before you were removed, you couldn't run again.
But that was again.
This was a change.
Yeah.
So I don't have any thoughts on this if the commission does, but I'm sure, like to your point earlier, Jackie, I gotta imagine the members are gonna have thoughts on this section as well.
Yeah, I think so. So is there any other discussion on H?
I'm good.
Okay, and we'll revisit as membership
Okay.
gives us their input.
Subsection 2, the election commission shall compile a complete list of eligible nominated candidates. This list shall be posted in each tribal office and shall be available for inspection at least 63 days prior to the election.
And this will be subject to a workshop on timelines too, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Any discussion?
No.
All right. Section 112, nomination of candidates. Subsection 1, each candidate shall submit to the election commission a letter of intent prior to receiving nominating petitions to run for a particular office. The letter of intent must be received by the designated representative at the designated office. Both those terms are defined in the beginning of the code, at least 90 days prior to the date of election, and shall include the following. A, full name of the candidate along with the candidate's date of birth and the office/offices which is being sought. B, the election unit in which the candidate maintains residency. C, a specific statement indicating the intent to seek an elected position within the tribal government. D, the physical and mailing address and phone number where the candidate can be reached. E, a certification under oath and penalty of perjury that the candidate meets the requirements contained in section 10.110. I'll pause for a second there. And I'll double check that's the right section.
Great.
10.11111.
Yeah, it's 111. I mean, this should pretty much guarantee that you're telling the truth because it's for perjury, but I don't know.
Well, wouldn't this be subject to like, how they prove the residency?
Correct.
Yeah,
And like, we may put in other documents that may have to be submitted to prove their residency. I mean, if they're, in a unit.
Yeah, so I'm putting a note here, Jackie, along to that effect, going out along with what we talked about earlier. Maybe we add into code, we don't want to add in probably every single mechanism. We want to let the commission figure out how they want to confirm that, but I'll get some language together that explicitly gives the election commission the authority to determine and request documentation to verify residency.
Right.
And we'll flesh it out more, obviously, and figure out what needs to be in code, what needs to be in your guys' policy and procedure. But I agree, there should be some kind of language in code explicitly giving the commission authority to determine and request documentation to verify residency, and then flesh that out in your actual procedure. It doesn't have to necessarily be in code, but something that gives the commission that power, explicitly gives them that power, so we can determine the mechanism for how we want going forward to make sure we can verify to the best of the commission's ability primary residency.
Any other discussion?
I'll just make a note here too, going on with our timeline discussion, that this might be part of the timeline overhaul, the 90 days to get us the letter of intent. That could change based on our discussion on overall timeline changes. I'll try to make note on every part of the code that has a timeline, so I don't forget which sections that timeline might touch. So when we do that workshop, we'll know exactly which sections are affected and how they're affected. Shall I go down to F?
Yep.
A signed statement consenting to jurisdiction of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians for enforcement of any violations of this chapter in substantially the following form. I, candidate's name, hereby consent to personal jurisdiction of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians for the enforcement of any violations of tribal code and the imposition of any civil fines and/or other equitable remedies, including injunctive relief. And right now, this statement is part of their candidate packet that they get that they have to fill out. And everyone signs it and says, yes, we're consenting to tribal court jurisdiction and election commission jurisdiction, so we can, as needed, issue sanctions under the sanction schedule.
we're not policemen.
Right, we're not policemen, but or you guys are in enforcement. So when there is a violation, you're the body that does hand down any kind of infraction under your current sanction schedule. But you're also not explicitly obligated to try to go police every single tribal member, make sure they're following the law. They sign affirmations that they're following our code, and if you find out they aren't, then that's when you step in.
Yeah, then it's perjury and.
Is everyone, any thoughts on that section? I don't have any thoughts, but if you guys have thoughts, I'll write them down. It seems pretty self-explanatory to me. Subsection 2, no candidate may file a letter of intent until after the election announcement is posted pursuant to section 10.107. Candidates may submit a letter of intent for both a position as a member of the board of directors and chairperson, but shall only proceed with one position of the candidate's choice in writing submitted to the election commission no later than the end of the contest period for the primary election held pursuant to 10.117. There's a mouthful run-on sentence for you.
Is that the right number? 117.
Say 1.118, 10.118?
Is it 118? Let me get there. Oh,
Yeah, it's 8.
118,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we changed something.
107 is right
Okay,
now. Date of election.
is that right? Okay. Okay, yeah, 107 is correct. That's the date of election, but it should be 118 for the other one.
Okay.
Any discussion?
No.
Okay.
Section 3, after receipt of a complete letter of intent, the election commission shall, within 14 days, determine whether the candidate is eligible and issue the candidate a letter of certification of eligibility, which shall be mailed, return receipt. The 10.125 subsection 4D notice shall be included with the letter of certification.
So there's some gray, I don't know if this is where, this is the area, but like, you know, like when they file their intent?
Is that where we got all the
Okay.
signatures?
No, this is before the nominating petition.
Okay.
This is, they're just right now telling the commission, we want to run for this board seat or chair.
Okay, I gotta find my list so I can.
Okay, so say they are on the board already, but they're gonna wait till the end, till like March 14th to turn in their letter of intent.
Well, there's a date.
Well, if that, is that final, what's the final date? Whatever the final date is to turn in your letter of intent. So if any, but then, would they be able to use their unit report time in the newspaper to promote other candidates and to campaign in those unit reports? Because they haven't turned in their letter of intent yet, so they're kind of just,
So they can, because they did last time.
well,
Remember? They-
So that's later down when we're talking about election code violations.
Okay.
But
that's what I'm asking.
they're not supposed, code right now does not, like, they're prohibited from campaigning
Once-
in their unit reports, right? We have that language in code. We did have a Court of Appeals opinion. It was not, they were not a board member. They are now, but they were a candidate. It was after they got their eligibility determination. So they did their letter of intent, they got certified as a candidate, but then they were allegedly campaigning in like an advertisement, and the Court of Appeals, our Court of Appeals ruled that the commission didn't have the authority to sanction a candidate. That was,
Yeah, but that was an advertisement.
That was an
I'm talking about their
advertisement.
unit report.
and so that would, but I could see them maybe following a similar train of thought, depending on what We'll have to make sure we look at that section and it's, that we're real happy with that language. Keeping in mind that Court of Appeals opinion, which I'll refresh us all when we get to that section.
Yeah, because it happened last time.
Yeah. But yeah, advertisement is arguably different than a unit
Yeah.
report.
Yeah.
And so if that same violation had stemmed from a unit report, I don't know if our Court of Appeals would have reached the same result or not. But that's something that we will talk about that court decision when we get there and see if we want to firm up our language, both for the candidates and for sitting board member candidates, in light of that decision, yeah.
And membership will have input on that too.
Yeah.
You have a lot of faith in membership, Jackie.
Oh, yeah,
Are you?
yeah, they're, great,
Yeah.
All right. Subsection 4, a candidate may receive a list of registered voters for the respective election units from the Election Commission upon presenting the candidate's letter of certification. The commission shall establish a fee per page to be charged for copies of each list. This is when, once they're certified, they can go get a list of registered voters in their unit so they can then use that for mailers and for getting their nominating signatures. That's what this section's about.
would we be, well, yeah, we'd be able to put like a cap on that or something, couldn't we? Just because not everybody, has the financial ability to do that.
Is it that expensive?
I don't
I don't remember offhand, sorry,
I
the
don't
current
think it
fee
is.
schedule. It's not exorbitant. It's not
Did all of them
really
take it?
expensive, but I don't remember what it is.
Yeah. So we have to charge them for that?
We don't have to. You have the authority to charge them. And also, we didn't do
I
this.
don't think we did we?
There,
we charge them
there,
last time?
there was, yeah, there's a fee schedule that was already established by the prior election committee, and we didn't change it for this election cycle. I don't remember the exact amount, but they were charged a small fee for getting their registration list printed. Something that the tribe did during COVID, which we did not do during the 2025 general, was giving candidates like a electronic version of the list. That's something that, it doesn't have to be in code, but that's something that we can just talk about procedurally if we want to set up that and.
Print it out, we could just give it to them.
You could give them like a secured Excel, something they couldn't modify, they couldn't change it, but they could have an electronic form. It makes it easier for the candidates to then give that spreadsheet to like a mailing house instead of
Yeah.
having to take our hard copy, scan it in, then
Yeah.
the mailing house, whoever they use, then puts it into digital format. We could help accelerate that and decide if there's a fee for electronic and a different fee for hard copy. That's all stuff that we don't have to do in code, but that's all stuff you can do procedurally. You certainly don't have to lock yourself in.
No, we
To
don't
code
want, we're
change.
locking ourselves in a lot of places,
Yeah.
I think, my opinion.
So would that might be something we want to put in here that, just to have discussion on, things that have been done and that can be done and aren't, we're not reinventing the wheel. It's already been done, so we could do it again. And it would be helpful to candidates.
Yes, I'll make a note here. Like electronic copies and maybe a cap on hard copies.
Where's the,
A cap or a waive.
Or, yeah, fee schedule, you certainly, we can look at that. Those are all stuff that you as a commission can decide outside of code, but it's all stuff we can
Okay.
talk about. And you already have the authority to set all those things, in my opinion. Number 5, you ready to go down?
Yep.
To be nominated to office, the candidate must pick up at designated office and submit separate completed nomination petitions for each elected position being sought on forms, excuse me, provided for that purpose by the Election Commission containing the following information. A, 100 valid names, a tribal, so now we're talking about nominating petitions. 100 valid names, a tribal file number shall be required, addresses and signatures of registered voters if seeking the office of tribal chairperson. B, 50 valid names, a tribal file number shall be required, addresses and signatures of registered voters if seeking the office for members of the board of directors for election unit 1 or election unit 3. C, 40 valid names, same information as above for election unit 2, 4, and 5. D, each page clearly stating the full name of the candidate to include junior, senior, first, second, third, et cetera, the office being sought, the election unit which the office represents, if applicable, and the name of the person circulating the petition.
Any discussion?
It's good.
All right.
I'm going to make a note here. I know we got input, I think we got input previously, but I can't remember specifically what it was, but tribal member input is probably going to be valuable here. Also, I believe, I don't want to put words in Phil's mouth, but I do know, I think it was Phil, or one of us discussed previously whether we wanted to tweak this or whether we still needed this specific process for nominating.
Did you have it?
And if it wasn't you, Phil, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Maybe it was me. Maybe I said it, or maybe Lana said it. I can't remember. But we did previously talk about whether this approach still fits in our modern elections or whether we want to explore other approaches. I don't have specific proposals for you at this time, but I would love to get membership input on what they think of this process and whether there's ways we can modernize it or if there's a better way to do it.
Well, we had exceptions because we had things that weren't signed, people in jail. You know, I know we talked about this.
Okay, so we're going to revisit.
Yeah, I just made note of that. Yeah, we can explore with the membership whether these numbers are still like the 100, is 100 names still the correct amount? Is 50, 40? All those things I would love to see more input from the membership and what their thoughts are on that.
Is that in the Constitution, certain numbers? Is that where they're getting that from?
I don't believe so.
Because it's by, like, population, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's based off, it was set at one time based off of whatever population data they had.
So it could
Probably,
change.
those could be changed based on new data. We'd have to kind of do a census and see what that population study looks like and then use that data to kind of go forward. But that's how it was set previously, yeah. I'm just double checking. I don't see those numbers. Yeah, those numbers aren't in the Constitution. I'm sure they stemmed from some census at some time.
Yeah.
Number 6, nominating petitions shall not be accepted by the Election Commission unless correctly completed. Unacceptable nominating petitions shall be immediately returned to the candidate.
Discussion?
That's good.
Looks good.
Number 7, a registered voter may only sign nominating petitions for candidates for members of the board of directors from the unit in which he or she is registered to participate as a voter. No registered voter shall sign more nominating petitions for the board of directors than there are seats to be elected from his or her election unit, nor more than one petition for chairperson. In the event that any registered voter shall sign more than the allowed number of petitions, his or her name shall be struck from all petitions.
That's good.
That's good.
Good with that?
Yes.
Number Number 8, all completed nomination petitions must be received by the designated representative at the designated office at least 70 days prior to the election. My only thought is I'm going to do my timeline,
Yeah,
just note for timeline tweak.
yeah, because
Timeline.
that could change.
So it's subject to timeline review.
Yes. Number 9, designated representative shall forward all letters of intent and nominating petitions to the election commission.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
May I request a 5-minute bathroom break before I go to the next section? Or a 2-minute, I
Let's take a break.
think I drank too much coffee.
You guys want to take a break?
Yes.
Okay, let's,
Make a motion. Take a
motion?
break.
Okay, motion, take a break.
All right.
Seconded, I guess.
Lou, you going to smoke?
I can pick us back up if you guys are ready. All right.
Ready to reconvene? Okey-doke, we start with campaigning.
10 to 1, almost. 10.113 campaigning. Number 1, no campaigning shall take place prior to notice of election.
Discussion? Okay.
That's good.
Number 2, no campaigning shall take place in any of the tribal offices, tribal enterprises, or majority-owned subsidiaries, tribally owned property, or tribally sanctioned events or functions, or those areas reasonably required as access to any of the foregoing locations. Excuse me, except as allowed in subsections 5 and 6.
Okay.
You know, we'll get a lot of membership input on this.
Yeah, we're gonna have to all agree. Last time it was pretty loosey-goosey.
Number 3, candidates and their supporters who are tribal employees shall not engage in campaigning at their work site. Employee candidates and their supporters may only engage in campaigning outside of their normal work hours or during days which they have taken leave. Candidates may file any letters, forms, or reports required by this chapter during lunch breaks. Don't campaign during work hours, basically, right?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of input on this, too.
Yeah, I just think that.
I mean, just because this is advantageous to people that are already on the board.
Yeah. Well, when they go to their lunches, technically it could be their lunch hour, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have any constructive thoughts. I know we had several complaints that we're dealing with, like going to an elder luncheon. And so, yeah, this is one that I agree. Once we get more membership input, we can see how we want to tweak it. I don't have any ideas right now.
So that's kind of open to interpretation there.
I do have ideas that we won't get to today. I do have ideas, even if we don't change this, how we can better do determinations of campaign violations. But that's sections 120 and down, so that will be a different day. But Number 4, no tangible or intellectual property of the tribe may be used for any campaigning purposes, including without limitation computers, photocopying, telephones, fax machines, database information, and office supplies.
So do you think we need to spell out in there that, like I know sometimes maybe candidates have attended tribal programs or tribal events put on by tribal programs and use those pictures in their campaigning? I mean, does that fall underneath this?
Can't stop attending programs.
Well, no, I'm not saying from attending, but using pictures that they take at those events for, to put in their campaign, like if they're making a flyer or they're making a brochure, they put a picture of that. So, I mean, it's just something that I'm sure we will get
I'm
input
sure we're
on.
going to get a lot of different opinions. I don't see how we could stop them. I mean, our board members go to all sorts of functions and have their pictures posted when they're running.
Yeah.
So if we have a candidate going to a drum making class or a canoe building function and post a picture of him working on a canoe or doing some craft, I think that's just something we're going to,
Yeah, yes, but not putting in their campaigning materials how they support this particular program or something.
I don't,
It's just a thought, it's just a thought that I had, and we could deal with it, and, or, you know, if it's, doesn't matter, it doesn't matter.
that's a pretty hard one.
Um,
I don't think anybody did that last year, did they?
I don't think so. I don't,
I don't think so.
When we read these, try and read them, not what happened this last time, but would be fair to everybody.
Okay,
yeah.
you're right.
You know, as far as, like she said, a board member has a step above people that are running first time. Because they don't have the ability to go to all these different luncheons and stuff like the board members do.
Right,
So how can we keep that fair?
we can't.
Well, sure you can. I mean, to a point we can, you know?
Well,
To have, you know, that, like she said, to take pictures and stuff when you're at a board or at a luncheon for.
okay, let's say that.
Yes,
Yeah.
they can't use that unless everybody can do it. If everybody
No, I
can't do
agree
it,
with that.
then-
They can't.
then they can't. Try and make it as fair as on everybody. Not, you know, not by what we've seen the last time, but as far as all of this should be fair to everybody. The first termers or the people who've been there for 30 years. It should be fair to everybody.
Yeah, it should be the same.
Yes,
The same.
yes. They shouldn't have anything,
special privileges.
yes, when it comes to running for elections.
The incumbent always has the advantage. There's
Yeah,
just no
see.
way around it.
Well, I know that, but what I'm saying is try to keep it as clean as we can, so there isn't a lot of questions on it.
Yeah, like, would it be fair if, okay, say Luann, say you're gonna run in Unit 1 and all of us, and you never went to any elder meeting before, and all of a sudden you just,
Oh, I see what
you
you're
know,
saying.
I mean, would, and you're not, even, you know, would you, I don't, you know,
No.
I don't
Let me
know.
ask you something that I know you would know. When a new person runs for the board, are they allowed to go to all those luncheons like the board members, the incumbents do?
If they're elders,
Yeah.
but if they're not elders,
Or something like that, so they can get themselves known? Are they allowed to do that?
They have to be able to get themselves known, that's the problem.
I think that you're allowed to go to elder lunches if you're from the community. Like, I know in Hessel, you're allowed to go to the elder luncheon and you pay.
We don't turn anybody away from
They don't-
the
yeah.
Turn
elder
anybody
meals.
away
Yeah.
from ours either.
Yeah, so I think that they would be allowed to go.
Legally, are they allowed to do that?
I
I mean,
recruit
I would-
there's somewhere in this constant, in ours, that they can do that.
My read is yes. That's why I advised for the complaints we did have last election cycle to that effect. If they're a tribal member, candidate or otherwise, and they're in that unit and they want to go to the elder luncheon, unless there's something with on the elder luncheon side that would prohibit it, they're allowed to attend. The question becomes, what are they doing while they're attending? Are they overtly campaigning? And maybe that goes back to our campaign definition that we made a note that we maybe need to tweak it, but we didn't figure out how to tweak it yet.
Yeah.
And so if they're overtly campaigning at an elder luncheon, that isn't allowed now, and I don't think should probably arguably not be allowed in the future, but it's how do we build those, I don't have an answer today how to build those sideboards, but how to really flesh out that definition so it's clear for the commission and future commissions, clear for the candidates, and clear for our Court of Appeals what we are allowing and disallowing under code. But that, I don't have a recommendation on that yet.
Let's say you're new.
But yeah, they're allowed to do that though.
Nobody knew who he was. You know, when he, at our elder luncheon.
Yes.
So how are they gonna get, that's not our problem.
I mean, if I'm a candidate, and especially if I've only lived here a year, so maybe people know some of my family, maybe they don't, maybe my whole family has lived outside the units my entire life, but now I'm inside the unit and I want to run, I'm probably going to go to these community events. I'm going to
So
go to
people
these
know
elder
who you
meetings,
are.
and I'm going to start meeting people so I can
Yes.
establish a rapport with the membership.
Yeah.
And I guess for code, we need to figure out where, if at all, we want to draw that line, to Jackie's point, of where does me as a candidate just mingling with the community cross over into campaigning? There's not an easy answer, and you're not gonna be able to capture every instance under code, but you can try to build some limitations on that, or decide that there are no limitations and everyone can just go to these community events, as long as it's equal, whatever direction we go, to your point, Phil, I think it should be as equal as possible. So everyone's on a level playing field. And the question becomes, how much limitations on those events do you want to place on the candidates and their ability to campaign
I
there?
think the public or the other membership is gonna have a lot of comments on that.
Well,
Because they said things and I told them it's not against code, you know?
but to Ernie's point there, the elder meals.
Yeah. We don't.
You have to go to the chairman of that elder meal and say, hey, can you put me on your
Agenda.
docket for there? So they have the, sure.
Well, there's two things, right? There's participating in the official meeting
Yes.
part of it, and then there's
Oh,
just
I-
attending the lunch part of it.
Yeah.
So there's two
Yeah.
parts,
The
right?
lunch is
Yeah.
over when the meeting starts. I see what you're saying now.
Now, that we could, we'd have to look into that and see if we could put that in code. But if you just come there for the meal and to get, to enjoy the meal and stuff, there's no politics.
Right, that's
If
what
you want,
everybody
if you
said.
want to be a politician, you get put on the docket and say, okay, he's coming, to let everybody know that I'm
Oh.
running.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That's a possibility.
One thing that is in our code, I don't think anyone's done it in a very long time, to my knowledge, but there's the ability for elders to do like a debate or like a forum, like an official forum for candidates.
Yeah.
We can flesh out that concept more too in our proposals to the board. And maybe to get around, or maybe to help facilitate what we know is already going to happen. People are going to go to these events. They're going to go to these luncheons. They're gonna skirt that line of campaigning. Maybe one of the answers, not the only answer, maybe one of the answers is to flesh out more how we as a commission and staff to assist, or elders can facilitate more official discussion with candidates or debates or forums or whatever. Maybe that's one way to help
That'd be a good idea.
alleviate that
I
concern.
think
Yeah.
you get more voters out of that.
You may,
Because-
because more participation
Yeah.
from the people.
We've done forums in the
Have you?
past.
Yeah.
The Elders Advisory Committee has sponsored them. And we've had them we had one in Manistee. I'm sure they had them in the Sioux. But I
Yeah.
attended the Manistee one.
It's probably been a while.
That's been
Yeah, it's been a long
years.
time.
It's been years.
It's
eh?
been years.
You know, one thing that maybe to address that of people going to the elder meal is it stops at, the campaigning begins when they start asking to be put on an agenda and introduced as a candidate. That's when it starts. They go there, you go there to eat lunch and just be in the community. That's great,
Yes.
But the minute you start saying, hey, can I be introduced? That's where maybe that needs to be spelled out.
Exactly. When they come over there, if you're gonna campaign, you gotta let the people in charge know that first. Either put you on the agenda or there's no campaigning.
Well, they
I don't think
tried,
you're allowed to do
they
that.
tried to skirt the issues because I guess they weren't set in stone, maybe.
Well, yeah, right.
Will be.
When,
Because right now you're not under code allowed to campaign at a tribally sanctioned event. I would argue
what it
that
says,
that's a
yeah.
tribally sanctioned event, right? the issue is how to define campaigning, if we want to limit that, how best to define it to limit that, or to go in the opposite direction, to open it up to just let anyone be able to campaign. As long as the playing field's equal, whatever the recommendation is,
Then they got
I don't have a-
signatures. So potentially they could campaign when they got the signatures, but
I mean,
But I think-
right now, I can't go to the powwow, I can't go to an elder luncheon, I can't go to a cultural event and campaign. It's not allowed in our code. The question always then becomes, when it gets in front of the commission, were they actually campaigning? But under the very broad definition of campaigning right now, and under the current code, that is expressly prohibited from happening. It's not supposed to happen. You have the ability to sanction people when it does during election
maybe we
cycles.
should loosen that up. I don't know. Because
I don't know.
if I have a question and you're at my elder lunch, you're gonna ask if I have to follow you
I
out
think
the
we should
door.
open that up.
I mean, if you follow me out the door and you ask me privately one-on-one, that's not a campaign violation. If I'm like on your, if I'm on your agenda, well, yeah, I guess you're,
You see,
but am I campaigning when I answer your question? Or you're, I don't know if that,
you're not really campaigning.
if you ask me the question, I'm not doing anything to overtly influence your vote necessarily. I'm just answering your question that you brought to me.
How, but if I say,
Arguably.
if you were elected to the board, how would you handle this situation? Then you're campaigning. If you answer it.
Maybe.
I mean, every time I ran into a board member, I had
Yeah.
to say, I can't talk to you. Practically.
I don't know if I think it's, in my opinion, in the interest of our elections or of this commission to get that down in the weeds, trying to enforce that type of scenario. That might be an effort in futility.
No, I agree,
Right.
but maybe we should loosen that up a little.
I think some discussion should be done with the membership so that they do know exactly what the playing field is and how level it is, and that, that it's even, and so that people, aren't, they know that if they're gonna make them complaint, what, exactly what that, what it would be based
Well,
on and how that would.
Yeah. We're gonna have to
Your
address
idea
that.
was probably the best one.
What,
No.
loosen it up?
Well, loosen it up, but have forums.
Well, that's,
Well, yeah,
That would be
how did
really
it
good.
work? Did it work for you guys last time?
It worked for me, but attendance was
Low?
low. Attendance is
Oh, I
always
hate
low at
these
something
people
like
that
that.
don't go to the meetings.
I mean, that's always the coin toss, what the attendance will be at any function. But maybe, I made note of it, but maybe we can flesh out some language in code that places a bit of a duty and the authority with the commission to work with different, or specifically with the elders. Maybe there's other
Well,
appropriate committees to work with, but right now we could talk about like working, maybe the commission can take a role in coordinating with the elder committees, the advisory committee and subcommittees to try to commit to holding like at least one official candidate forum every election cycle in each election unit or something like that. Maybe we can build something that places not too much limits on code, but the ability for those two bodies to work together to do something each election cycle. It's already kind of in there, but we can make it more explicit.
I mean, we
more
got the
express.
buildings, so,
well, that this is going to be, membership's gonna have.
It's a,
oh, membership's gonna
Yeah.
comment on this one, I know.
And that's
that.
great, if we can come up with something that's gonna be, equal for people that are, that are not incumbents. They need all the help that they can get.
Well, incumbents always come to the meetings because people want that to tell
Happen.
us what you're doing.
Yeah,
What are you spending our money on? So we always see them. You don't see the people that are running the first time.
yeah. I agree.
yeah, to Ernie's point, there's always gonna be, you're incumbent, you're always gonna have a little bit of a leg up. That's just how campaigns work, but you can try to limit that you can try to limit that to some extent through code.
I have nothing against a candidate coming to a meal and introducing himself. If he stands up and says, this is what he's going to do, that's.
Right, he starts giving you his,
Oh, I see what you're
right, he starts giving you his
I-
platform.
A candidate coming and introducing himself, when I was chairman of our group, I've had them ask me if they could come and have their petition signed, and I always said, no, you have to do that outside.
Yeah, that's,
And they've asked to come to the meetings, and in years past, we've had them come to the meetings and introduce themselves. But that's as far as it went. They ate their
introduce
meal.
themselves as a candidate or no?
They introduced who they were.
Okay.
I think part of this discussion will be how we, so one of the things, it's not quite this apples to apples, but one of the things from the last Court of Appeals opinion, there's a lot of what's called dicta. There's a lot of suggestions that they made that they're not binding on us, but there's just stuff that they want the government to consider. But one of the things they brought up in their opinion was the definition of endorsement versus express endorsement. And we could do something similar with campaigning and overtly campaigning or expressly campaigning. We can make a definition that someone who introduces themselves like, hey, I'm Ryan Mills. I've been only here a couple of years, but I'm running for the board in Unit 1. I'm just here to introduce myself. I don't want to talk about my platform, but I just want to introduce myself to the elders. That's fine, maybe. But then we can define what expressly campaigning is, and we can give examples, like talk about your platform, soliciting votes, maybe, giving gifts at an elder meeting or something, stuff like that. We could kind of define what is campaigning and what is expressly campaigning and what is, campaign. There could be different definitions, and I think that is something the Court of Appeals kind of signaled that, is making it more clear for candidates and for members in general. Like, what does expressly endorsing someone mean? What does explicitly campaigning mean? Those are all things I think we
If we
should have a
set of
discussion
rules, we
with.
can follow them, but if we don't have them, then we're gonna.
And I think that's a great thing to also get membership input on, to see,
Yeah.
because, especially because obviously they're out there at these events, and they might see something that they think is campaigning. Maybe we don't view it as campaigning, or maybe the court doesn't, but we can take that feedback and see how to shape that definition accordingly,
Yeah.
right?
That's, we need more member participation.
Well.
We're
that's why
losing
doing
it.
this.
Yeah.
We never did it before. Let members see what we're doing, all right? Put it out in the paper, what we're doing. We need you guys to give us input on this stuff,
Yeah, because we're losing we don't want members to participate just when there's an election. We want them all the time.
All right.
They need to support their tribe, I don't know.
Okay, let's see if I can get through 113 with us before the next 20 minutes. We'll try. Number 5, a candidate may post one campaign sign on each designated public bulletin board at the various tribal offices and enterprises. No sign placed on a tribal bulletin board may exceed, 8.5 inches in width and 11 inches in length. Any sign not meeting the requirements of this section shall be removed.
Wow.
I mean, that's just a standard computer paper size. That's what
Yeah.
they went with, right? I don't have any thoughts on this. If you guys do, I'll make note of
That's
it.
kind of, okay, keep going.
Number 6, campaign signs may not be posted or erected on any tribal property except for signs on residential property with the owner/tenant's permission. I can't just stick a random sign in your yard, Phil, unless you tell me I can.
Yeah.
Good on that one right now? Number 7, outdoor signs on residential tribal property may not exceed 5 feet in width or 5 feet in height. It's a pretty generous size.
Yeah. Big,
So there's no Hollywood signs?
Right, we can't,
no billboards.
giant billboard like Judge Lambros has out there for our tribal elections. That's fair. Number 8, all campaign signs or advertisements must be removed within 30 days following the election. That's been standard language in there. I still see campaign signs that
I
are
still see campaign signs
in
up.
yards right now, but
They're all picked up by us. There was a few that hung around, now they're all picked up.
I mean, we don't really have an enforcement mechanism for removing them. The city of Sault Ste. Marie can, if it's on their property, and we could have our law enforcement, I guess, go grab those signs, but technically they're supposed to all be taken down after 30 days.
Well, there's Lowe's and, I mean, not Lowe's, but, Trump and,
Well, yeah, well, that election's still ongoing, so ours ended a while back.
yeah.
Number 9, all campaign advertisement material must have placed upon its face in a conspicuous manner the endorsement of the candidate or the non-candidate registrant responsible for the advertisement. Any campaign advertisement that endorses or opposes more than one candidate must be endorsed by the candidates or the non-candidate registrant responsible for the advertisement, as well as by any other candidate endorsed by the campaign advertisement. The endorsement shall specifically state candidate or non-candidate registrant's name endorses this advertisement. We had a complaint on a candidate using this subsection. This is one that went to the Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals ruled that that campaign advertisement was not may have been an endorsement, but it was allowed through the freedom of speech. The candidate had a right to name other sitting board members and/or candidates that they could align themselves with, in part because it's not clear in our code an endorsement in number 9 versus what we have in number 10, the unit reports, an express endorsement or express statement. So we had the advertisement and named the chairman and named a Unit 1 director. And this commission found that was a violation of 9, that it appeared to be an endorsement of those board members who were also candidates. The Court of Appeals ruled against us. And one of the fixes that I want to explore, in line with the Court of Appeals ruling, is whether we want to change number 9 to be an express endorsement and really define what an express endorsement is. And I think that would give the commission the ability to hand down a sanction similar to what was handed down
Right.
in the last
And
election
eliminate
cycle, and the Court of
loopholes.
Appeals uphold it.
And eliminate what?
A loophole,
Yeah,
definitely. I agree with that. Because it seems like it, in some areas, pretty much, I think, probably Unit 1 or even with Unit 1, because they have more than one candidate running in that unit.
Yeah.
So that, they are electing more than one candidate, so they can kind of form a little wall there. But also I think maybe that would work too with the chairman's position, that the chairman also doing those out in the outline areas. Say that, I'm putting them on their campaign material too.
I'm allergic to something, I don't know what.
But this would, that would eliminate that.
We probably should do the define express. Because right
Yes.
now, I don't expressly know what it is. You know what I mean?
Well, the way the Court of Appeals read it in this last election cycle, something that would be like, I do an advertisement and I say, vote for me, or vote for Chairman Lowe's, or vote for candidate so-and-so. that's clearly an express endorsement. And if I don't get those other candidates'
Okay.
approval, but if I just say like, I pledge to work together with the chairman and these unit directors, which is what it said, that doesn't meet the level for the court of endorsing, even though they're aligning themselves with that political
But they're not-
group. But they're not expressly saying, vote for them, or I support them. They're just saying like, I will work with them, or I have worked in the past with these people. I will continue to work with them. I agree with their values and my values align with theirs. For our Court of Appeals, that's not enough to trigger a violation of this provision.
So we need to clarify.
So we need to, if we want to keep something like this, we need to clear, I don't have the language worked out yet, but I made note,
this
we need to
is-
clarify
Work on the
what,
language.
9
yeah.
and 10?
9 and 10. Yeah, I think 10 is pretty good, but 10 will go into however we determine how to define express endorsement.
Okay,
This
that
goes,
makes sense.
yeah, 10 goes to the unit report, express endorsements or express statements of opposition to a candidate in unit reports or the chairman's report distributed by the tribe are prohibited during election cycles. Candidates' unit reports distributed by the tribe shall be limited to space equivalent to 1/4 page. But I think I'd like to tweak this language, get membership input on these sections, and see if we can make that more clear for both candidates who are sitting board members and candidates who are not.
Especially new ones.
Yeah, when your advertisement or unit report will cross that line into endorsing a candidate.
Yeah.
That's good.
Number 11, the tribe shall provide to each candidate at no cost to the candidate the opportunity to submit a campaign statement or advertisement equivalent to 1/4 page in the tribal newspaper for publication prior to the date set for the primary election pursuant to section 10.117. Additionally, the tribe shall provide to each candidate at no cost to the candidate the opportunity to submit a campaign statement or advertisement equivalent to 1/2 page in the tribal newspaper for publication prior to date set for the election pursuant to section, the general election pursuant to section 105. Each candidate's campaign statements or advertisements pursuant to this section shall be solely for the self-promotion purposes of the candidate and shall not address any other candidate. That was a mouthful to say. They can use this space to talk about themselves and not other candidates.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, it says, what did I say?
That's the wrong
To
number, though.
submit
isn't it?
a campaign.
It might be.
Does that mean one? During that election cycle?
One free one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
So they can submit as many
But they have to
as they
pay.
want, but they'll have to pay for the other ones. Yeah.
At 10.117,
10,
that's not
10107.
107, yeah,
107.
that's probably just a typo. Yeah, so before the primary, they're allowed one free statement, advertisement, and same thing, there, after the primary, they're allowed one
Going into general.
one free, like, half-page advertisement before the general election. And anything beyond that, they'd have to pay for. Or if they don't have to do the 1/4, but they'd have to pay for it too. So they're like, I don't want 1/4 page, I want a full-page ad, they just have to pay for that.
Okay.
But it still has, no matter if they pay for it or not, it still has to go by what the last statement says. The purpose of the candidate shall not address any other candidate, even though they pay for it.
Good question.
Yeah.
Let me make note of that. Yeah, so this section doesn't expressly state that.
Yes.
So I'll make note of that. That would shoot us back, it probably would shoot us back to our subsection 9 discussion. Make sure that those work together in tandem, because that section talks about advertisement material. But that's a good point, Phil. It's not expressed in this section. I mean, I want to make sure that section 9 and this section, what is it, 11, need to work together and make sure it's clear to all candidates what they're allowed and not allowed.
My mic was on when I was speaking.
Oh, I just coughed into the mic, so you're not you're not the only one. Okay, yeah, good point. I mean,
Yeah, because like kind of like in that 9, the way it is now, isn't it kind of like they kind of are able to form a little NCR without officially?
yeah, kind of. Yeah, the way it's worded now, especially with the Court of Appeals opinion, they kind of, unless we change this language, they can kind of form that pseudo endorsement or group, yeah, to align themselves with without any kind of prohibition or limitation. Which,
Section 105 is wrong too.
do you,
It's supposed to be 107. Right?
yeah.
Date of election.
You have to be a lawyer to understand some of this. Or a judge.
Sometimes. That's why we want to try to make it as we're going through this, make it as plain English as possible. You shouldn't have to, we should be able to make a code that can limit how many times we're in front of the Court of Appeals and make it more clear for whether you're an attorney or not, or whether you have advanced degrees or not. Or it shouldn't matter. We should all be able to understand the code. And to that point, as we take another pass through this, we can figure out how to, like this section is kind of cumbersome. I think there's a way that we can say this in more plain English that makes more sense. So I'll make note of that too. That's a good point, Lou.
Here's where it gets reformed.
Anything else?
Number 12, candidates and non-candidate registrants may campaign by telephoning registered voters. However, in any such telephone calls, the representative of the candidate or non-candidate registrant must clearly state the name of the person on whose behalf the telephone call is being made, and must also include a telephone number that registered voters may call to speak to the candidate or non-candidate registrant directly. I wonder if anyone has utilized this recently.
I've never heard anybody do it.
I haven't got, since I've been a registered voter, I don't think I've got a call from anyone. Maybe we need to add some language here. If we can keep this, it doesn't hurt, but maybe add language about, I'm sure you've all received, at least from the national level, you get like unsolicited text messages sometimes from different groups.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we can add language that
Yeah, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
that captures,
Later, that's gonna start
And that,
happening.
yeah, because that's going to start.
yeah.
Because of the time change.
Number 13, campaigning shall be monitored by the Election Commission attorney. Any infraction of the campaign regulations by any person shall be subject to penalties as provided under the duly adopted civil sanction schedules as published by the Election Commission. Right now, this gives the Election Commission attorney the ability to bring things to your, like if I right now see something, even if a tribal member doesn't submit a complaint, I can bring it to the commission's attention and we could still take action on it if I think there's a violation. I'm not married to this language. This is just,
What is a civil sanction? What
so
is
right now,
it here?
you have adopted and published a sanction schedule. It shows like,
We have did that?
you did that in March of last year?
Yeah, that's our whole sanction thing we did.
It shows like, so my first offense, I get a warning. My second
Oh,
offense, I
okay.
get a fine and a warning. My third offense, I might not be able to run anymore. It's that whole
Okay.
sanction schedule that we have. And every year, the commission, or every election cycle, the commission can look at that and change it and adopt a new one. It doesn't have to stay static every year. So I don't have any thoughts on this. I'm not married to this language, but we can, if you guys have thoughts.
I know,
I never even did this last election cycle. I just let the members file stuff. I don't really want this position to be a policeman either. But, sorry, Jackie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, I think that, and this is something that membership will provide input on, because I've heard some things, and I don't know if what they were directing that at, but I'm sure we'll hear from membership, you know, how they feel about this too, and that's welcome.
I mean, I personally don't, just the same thing as with the election commission. I don't know if I don't remember how this language got here now. It was over multiple workshops, but going forward, I don't think I would advise the commission attorney to have that role. I don't want to, nor do I think it's appropriate to be necessarily trying to investigate on my end and then bring it to your attention. That's something we can talk about further, though, if we want to keep something similar.
You want that out of there? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we
Well, I
can bring
wanna-
that up too.
Yeah, I want to see what other people think.
Yeah, see what membership thinks of that.
I don't think it's, I mean, if it stays in there, it's fine. I think the attorney can have a role. Like, I would look at social media, I would read the unit reports, and if I saw something, I would have brought it to your attention, if the tribal member didn't. But I don't know if that necessarily needs to be a role of the commission attorney, or if we just leave that for the members to file complaints and then you deal with them, and we take my role and your role out of it entirely to be like, in quote, investigator. I think it's just a broad discussion to have and see what members think of it. Number 14, Elder Advisory Committee and its subcommittees are hereby authorized to conduct a candidate forum or forums, and such forum shall not violate any subsection here. That should be one word. Herein, except A, subsection 1 shall remain in force, and B, subsection 6 shall not apply to any signage posted inside the room in which the forum is being conducted.
So.
So subsection 1
There's no campaigning.
is no campaigning prior to the notice of election, so that they couldn't do a forum before that was posted. And subsection 6 is,
Signage.
The sign.
yeah, if you do an official forum,
So you can still.
during that forum, they could have, the candidates could have their signs up, but not anytime outside of that.
So that means they can have that forum at the.
In the community
tribal
centers.
center?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
Maybe I
and-
didn't know
As
that.
long as it's approved by the elder associate, the elder people that are there,
Chairperson,
yes.
yeah. Okay,
And I think maybe workshopping some language,
they should have did that.
I mean, this has been in our code. And like Jackie and Ernie said, it's in the, it's been done in the past, just not recently. But maybe workshopping how the commission and the elders committee
Put it on the floor, I'll stop it.
can work more in tandem to help like facilitate these. I don't want the commission to facilitate them, there needs to be a little, there has to be some separation, but the commission can work with the elders committee or any other committee that might be in the future deemed appropriate to like set the tone for how the forum should run, and it can help facilitate it on that end,
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
Yeah, just so that they're all kind of run in a uniform way that's fair to everybody.
Yeah. All right, we made it through 10.113. So we made it through 105 through 103, and it's 131. So I think that's pretty good. Pretty good for today. Yeah, do we have our next
When's our next meeting?
meeting scheduled is
Yep.
November 20th?
Yep.
Yeah, and then we go with the board on the 22nd, so I mean, are we still have that?
No, we're not on,
That wasn't hard-coded.
we got bumped from the 22nd. There was
Oh,
other,
okay.
so I think sometime in November,
Okay.
Oh, they go November 12th.
We're off at Christmas.
November 12th,
Oh, November 12th. That's
I
what it
believe.
is. Yep.
And so
I have it.
Not working in
November 20th, I am actually out of town. You guys can still meet. I can see if Josh can cover. And if not, certainly you can have your meeting and we can figure out how to share this on the screen. But I'll email this out again. So
Josh can-
I'll see if Josh can be here. If we're just, he can take notes, the same as I am in going through this. I'll go through before the 20th. And if I have any thoughts on my end about certain provisions, I'll send that to the commission.
Okay,
Okay.
Otherwise, I won't
so
be at that meeting.
next time we should try to, and we got a long ways to go here, Brian.
Yeah, some of these should go quicker than others as we, in theory, as we go through it. Like the campaigning section, I think it works as is. There might be a couple of things you want to tweak. The reports and report filing works pretty well as is. So I don't have any thoughts on those. So I won't have a lot to say on some of these sections. The election procedures will take a lot of time because we're going to workshop, maybe doing more than just mail in. But
Also, somebody has to redo,
I just have to click under the bathroom.
yeah,
because we have to officially adjourn our meeting.
I motion to close the meeting.
I'll second.
Okay,
All in favor?
Are we,
I shut down.
Not yet.
not yet.
oh, no, we can't.
We can't, we need our chair here.
Well, yeah, but we can't anyway, damn it.
Why?
Because you gotta go through 2 more steps on there.
You have a couple more things on the agenda.
Agenda.
Well,
okay.
I'll wait till,
Yeah,
Yeah.
closed section.
All right, where's that?
but don't worry, I don't have anything for
Okay.
close. I'll wait till Jackie's back.
Yep.
But
I gotta go
So I'm
Cancel that
not
motion.
recording that.
Okay.
cancel.
I'll postpone it.
Or postpone it.
We have no power. Unions.
no, you have you have the power because you have the ability to vote on things. The chair is the one that doesn't have,
Jackie doesn't have any power.
except to break ties. It's the double-edged sword of being chair. You don't get to vote, but you get to break a tie, but you get to run the meetings, but you get to advise.
I don't care as long as it's not me.
There's an odd number of us, so there should never be a tie.
Right now, probably, yeah, I don't know how that would happen. Oh, unless someone was absent, right? And then there was a 1-to-1 tie.
We don't have a quorum, though, do we?
As long as there's 3 of you, including the chair, you'll have a quorum. You know,
We had a meeting with just you and I and who was
We-
here?
we did-
Jackie?
we did have one there was just 3 of you.
We did have a meeting, we couldn't do anything.
I don't remember it, so.
Yeah, you were the chair because Boyd was there.
Boy, yeah, there was, yeah. Anyway, I do not have anything for closed session legal update today. There's nothing. So we can, if the commission agrees, we can skip that one.
Okay, now I motion close.
Okay,
All
what
right.
time is it officially?
Motion to close meeting?
Yeah,
All those in favor?
I,
All right, see you next.
1:36.
what time is it, guys?
1:36.
The recording has stopped.